Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's percolating. Good morning. Yeah. Good morning to the people on Facebook. Good morning to the people on IG. Good morning to the people on the YouTube. Good morning to the people on LinkedIn and Twitter too. Java. Percolating. Get a vibe, stay ready. Truth in the cup, keep it strong, keep it steady. Pull up a chair, yeah. Take a sip it with me. Good morning, good people. Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, the love percolating. Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good morning. Yeah, the love percolating. Yeah, Java with Jimmy. Good morning. Percolating. Yeah, we in it. Yeah, we in it. Good morning. Good morning. Java with Jimmy. Percolating. Yeah, we in it. Yeah, we in it. Good morning. Good morning. Java with Jimmy.
Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Monday, March 23rd, 2026. And I got the date right because I don't know what was going on last week with me and different dates, different months, different years. But I'm back in order today. It is Mental Health Monday. And as we to shortly after the election, and especially in January of, I think it was last year and this year as well, just thinking about being very intentional in our mental health space as well as your healthy Java. And so this is sort of a combo of Java with Jimmy, your healthy Java, and Black Java, no sugar, no cream, because we're talking about Black men and mental health. I do want to pause for a second and just let you guys know that either through a written statement or I may go live later today, I do want to level set before we bring Dr. Some things, and this is a part of the conversation on a macro level. Last week, there was a lot of discussion about the police involved shooting, and I am one of the people that is familiar with the precedents of some leaders going in to see footage of body cam footage of an incident when there are concerns. However, over the weekend, I've had a lot of phone calls, texts, inboxes, and the general consensus is there's nothing, no one wants to do anything to jeopardize the process of the legal system. And so with that, I know that is a lot of outcry for they're definitely not going to release the footage until the trial begins, but also of Black leadership from the DA. He said he's not doing it. The police commissioner is not doing it either. And so I'll share more about that later and how this relates to today's topic. A lot of the conversation has included race. We've had a Black man killed in Boston where there was enough concern of our district attorney to arrest the police officer who is a white man. Conversations have included where's the outrage to our Black elected leaders, for a lot of us who are Black men, similar to other marginalized communities, we're sitting here wondering, wow, again, we've seen it nationally and it has happened here previously locally. And we're in the midst of that right now. And that does, for some, I've had a few minutes of thinking about it. Well, damn, you know, is a crime, which many have stated there was this happened from a crime. Does that mean punishable by death? And black men tend to be a large victim, along with black women, of a lot of aggressive, excessive use of police force. And nothing that I'm saying now may necessarily be the opinion of my guest, but as it relates to correlating today's topic to black men and mental health, having to speak and give you a quick update about the footage, as well as bringing together this topic, there is some relation there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it on the macro level about black men and mental health. But after all of that commentary, without further ado, and I thought it was his first time here, but he was here before a few years ago. Let's bring into the Java Cafe. And I am ecstatic about the fact that I'm bringing in Dr. Kwame Dance back into the Java Cafe. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. And yes, it's been about 3 years, and this is my first time doing the show alone. Last time I was on a panel, so this is really dope. Appreciate
Listen,
you, man.
I'm glad to have you here. And, it's as I say with my guests often, it's been a long time coming, but I think timing is everything. And
100%.
given the nature of what I just shared with the audience, I think it's most apropos that you're here today to check in on a macro level around how these national incidents happen and they play on the plight and our experience in everyday life of being a black man
Yeah.
in this country. And so let me just back up a little bit and Kwame, I know you don't, it's important. I know you don't stress the Dr. Dance, but we want to honor that. So I'll probably fluctuate. But how is Kwame doing? Based on what I
Yeah.
just shared, your own life, I want to check in with you and ask you, which we do here often. I'm going to ask my audience to participate. Put one word in the comments for how you're feeling today in the space of your mental health. And Dr. Dance, I'll ask you to greet the audience and do the same after your greeting. One word for like how you're doing today.
Sure. And again, thank you, and thank you, audience, and thank you for centering us in that moment. And my condolences to his family and just the community that's grieving. But yeah, one word to describe how I'm feeling right now is, mm, say, oh, I want to say overwhelmed, but I think I had a good relaxing weekend, which was important. So, but I think generally, in terms of just tying that back into what you were saying, I mean, if you pay too close attention to national news and just what everything that's going on, it's overwhelming on top of our already overwhelming lives. But and to be a healer in these spaces is can get to be a lot, but that's the business that I'm in and that we're in. So we just got to do our best to take care of ourselves. How are you, brother?
I'm good. We're coming up on anniversary tomorrow. I was talking with my manager earlier, and I am not not hype. I'm just kind of chill, you know what I mean? Which is good, but overall I'm doing pretty good. I'm reflective. I'm celebratory, but I'm just kind of even keeled, which I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But I have to admit, as a black man, and we can get into this conversation as a black man, I think even when we're even keeled and there's not that much going on,
Mhm.
I remember a couple of years ago, I had to call a clinician friend of mine and was like, I'm dealing with anxiety, not because everything is things are array. I was good. Like bills were paid. I was, a few years ago, I was flying in and out of Miami and like I had to hit her up and say, help, because
Yeah.
I had this anxiety. So all of that to say, you talk about the national, you talk about our everyday lives. You are Dr. Dance, a clinician. like tell us a little bit. We didn't have a chance before when you were on a panel, but like
Mhm.
who is Dr. Chance? How did you wind up growing up dealing with what we deal with as black men and still be able to achieve being in this space? Your official title is clinical psychologist.
Yes, sir. Yep, clinical psychologist. So yeah, I'll take you through it. So I grew up in Cambridge, born in Boston, grew up in Cambridge,
Wait a minute,
and
hold on, hold on. Yeah,
yeah.
you know how we are. I thought you was like Boston, Boston.
Well, I lived in Boston until I was 6 years old, and then I moved to Cambridge. And I'm from the coast in Cambridge. I represent it very hard, and yeah, there is a difference, but we try to bridge, the gaps. I do a lot of my work in Boston. I've worked in Boston public schools. Currently work at Whittier Street Health Center, where I've been for a long time. I'm there part time, but um, let's see, I do a lot of work out of Freedom House, especially in the summer. I run a program called the Mental Health Advancement of Culturally Competent Education to Stop Stigma, but the Access program, uh, which is also based in Boston. I do consultant work at Beth Israel, so Boston is there, but yeah, I do rep the bridge hard. But yeah, so grew up in Cambridge. Um, I'd say what brought me into this work, I was very fortunate to have some really great mentors throughout my life, but very early. My mother was an office manager at a it was a behavioral health and research and treatment center, essentially, that was out of Boston City Hospital. And like, we had some rock stars in the field who were just um, some of they were at the early stages of their careers, but they were all of my mentors. It was for Black and brown clinicians and psychologists, and it was a training program also. So she was the office manager when I was a little kid, like 3 years old, and I'm running around, and those people have been my aunties and my uncles my entire life. So I also grew up in St. Paul AME Church in Cambridge, and there were quite a few, again, rock star psychologists and psychiatrists and social workers who were in and out. So career exposure, I did have that. I also, more importantly and probably more relevantly, had my own lived experience, my family's lived experience of mental health challenges, mental illness, trauma, etc. Um, and I think I was always a holding space for a lot of people, friends, family. Um, and yeah, I think those were the tools and the access points that brought me into the field. And as I've just gone through life as a Black man, I was very fortunate to have parents who, I came up in, 80s baby. So I came up, and I have an older brother who's 12 years older than me. I'm in my 40s, um, but yeah, we came right off the heels of a lot of marches and movements, and my father was very uh, involved in civil rights and things like that, as were my grandparents and my mom. So they just taught me how to be proud of my blackness, being a man, being a Black man. And so I did have that pride that carried me, but I absolutely, coming up here, you encounter racism, you encounter all the things which have led to imposter syndrome throughout life, certainly direct trauma, but it's also allowed me to be relatable and to relate to the clients whom I serve.
It's interesting because I literally was having a thought here that I'm experiencing you in real time have willing vulnerability, you know what I mean, to talk here in the space of being a clinical psychologist and just being transparent, about your experience, and then just sort of sitting back naming with. And so in that vein, if I could ask you, Dr. Dance, generally, you know, how would you describe the state of Black men when it comes to mental health? And I have learned that mental health is inclusive of maintaining mental wellness and then addressing mental illness or um, behaviors that could be, if properly diagnosed, attributed to mental illness. And so, in that vein, like, how are we as Black men doing it? You can give a local, you can give national, you can give world based on what's going on, or you
Yeah,
can
no
go,
doubt.
you can take us on a flight, however you want to. But what is the from
Sure.
your purview? How are we doing?
Yeah, how are we doing? And one thing to acknowledge is that Black folks, Black men, we're not a monolith. How so? It is individually based, but I'll start from the macro and work in. So, Black people in general, but Black men are some of the most overrepresented in the criminal justice system, and also most underrepresented in terms of help seeking and folks who are engaged in treatment. Now, that said, I do find, at least locally, a lot more brothers who are willing to seek out. There's just not a lot of help that looks like us. And by us, I mean Black folks, but also Black men. Um, it is really, really difficult. I've been fortunate to find, and again, with being vulnerable, a Black male psychologist, but that was very, very difficult for me, even being in the field and with all the touch points and with the network and all of that stuff. Um, so it's really, how are we doing? I would say you described the way that you described how you're doing right now and the way that I described how I'm doing really sum up a lot of the experiences that I come across, both in my personal life with my friends and family, as well as just what I see with clients, and both feeling overwhelmed and silently anxious. And we're not used to that quiet space. We're not afforded that when things when we're not producing or protecting or providing. We're and we're able to just chill. That feels extremely stressful for all of us, and that's a trauma response, or a lot of us, and that's a trauma response. And it comes from being overwhelmed and not being afforded the space to just be, and just to you know, make mistakes, or um, you know, be imperfect, or not be a provider protector. We're measured very much so on what we do, versus just who we are, and you know that's been since we came over here on you know and probably before that. It's just the role, historically, and it's our historical weight that we bear. But we need to get better at creating spaces and finding spaces. Now, what I will say is Black men are absolutely talking a lot more than we ever did. um, we have language now to describe how we're feeling, um, and we're willing to use it. We're willing to go there when folks are willing to listen to us.
It's so interesting that you talk about sort of the wow, I've never said this, the breadwinner syndrome,
Yeah,
as Black men. And I just want to, it's related, but I want to deviate for a second because I'm looking at the upper left corner of your screen, well, kind of in the middle, and there's a book there that looks familiar from
oh yeah,
someone that was recently with us here in the Java Cafe, Dr. Charmaine Jackman. And, in that breadwinner sort of vein, you also have a master's in business. I'm going to tell you, just because you're on live right now, it's not
sure.
going. Oh, it did it? It stayed? Okay.
It did. It stayed.
I was getting ready to say just because it would fall. But in that breadwinner piece, I want to acknowledge you have a master's in business administration. So I'm gonna put you on the spot since you're being vulnerable.
How did that?
A lot of us have moved into, we're creative, we are hustlers, we have to make ends meet. How are we doing in the vein of all that's going on in that breadwinner syndrome? I'm going to ask you to go a little bit deeper in how we're doing.
Sure.
And thank you for the overview. And I concur with everything there. Um, how, just in that vein of you being a business person, an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
black man from street pharmacology to the C-suite in the boardroom, we're gonna we're gonna get the bag.
Got you.
In the context of what's going on now, how are
Yeah.
we doing? Because finances play
Oh yeah. A huge role.
yes, sir.
Um, yeah, and I'll give a little bit of history as to how that fits, how the NBA even fit in to the whole big picture. I mean, I think it's really helped me in my more systems framework in the work, and um, uh, but I'll get to that a little bit more later in terms of what that means, systems framework. But um, yeah, I ended up so I was working in I was living in Washington D.C. after college, for was working for a nonprofit organization out there in Ward 7, Northeast DC, which is historically one of um, the the most underserved areas of the district. And but fortunately, at my job at the time was they paid for some classes, so I took some classes in business because I wanted to be on my grind. I was told that would be the most marketable. I always knew I wanted to be a psychologist, but I got out of the field for a while. But I was working, and this is where I'll make it relevant, but I was working a full-time job. I was working two part-time jobs, and I got the MBA, or I was working toward an MBA in marketing because I was promoting nightclubs and you know 4 5 nights a week, and I was like
You
literally
was a
not
club promoter,
sleeping. I
Kwame?
was the club promoter. I even did my thing out here a little bit back in Roxy days and all of that. Shout outs to all the folks doing their thing, Rob, Kareem, all of those guys.
Yes.
Those
Yeah,
are
yeah,
my
yeah.
people.
Yep.
but but yeah, nah, I was really very much so in that world, but in all of those worlds, and felt like I just needed to be busy and needed to make money and needed to provide and do this, and not provide. I didn't, well, provide for myself, and even like dating and things like that. Like so, I just really burned myself out badly, and I had a mental health crisis then. You know, did I ended up, long story short, I ended up having to come back to Boston. My mother was also ill, so I came back to take care of her, and it became more of the same thing. I got into that pattern of working a million jobs. One may say I still do that. I mean, Dr. Jackman yells at me all the time because I'm doing too much, but it's weird because I'm at this point in my life where I'm doing I feel like I'm doing less than I have before, which is extremely stressful for me. I'm just used to going and going and going, and now that things are settling. And that story is a lot of our stories. We are that provider piece, that pressure, that social pressure, or to, like I mentioned, dating, even like for the singles or what have you out there.
Did you say the singles?
Singles. I'm not putting myself in any category, but I work with a lot of folks that are going through this, but for so it's relevant and fresh on my mind. But folks who are expected to, make, be 6 feet, make six figures, and have a six pack, and in order to be viable, and
You said viable.
viable candidates, and that's just to be in the pool. But that's something that a lot of brothers have dealt with, and um, I work with a lot of men. Most of my caseload at Whittier Street is men, because I'm the only black male, you know, behavioral health clinician there. So a lot of them are going through the same kinds of things, just with, am I good enough? Am I am I worthy? Am I my partner says I don't do enough, or I can't do enough, and I'm afraid they're gonna leave me for, somebody else who can do more. And that goes beyond that. That's pressure that's with so many fathers I work with, so many, my own family, my I don't know if he's on today, but I'll put my brother on the spot. But he um, is always facing that provider um, syndrome. He just really um, puts so much weight on himself, and he can never do enough, and it's exhausting. It's really exhausting.
It is very exhausting, and for you to name that, it's not that often, but when you do have those periods of bills are paid, everything is good, there's no drama, like, I literally had this feeling of, like, you know, looking behind my back to see, what trauma is coming. And so, a few things I'd like to unpack that you just covered is one, that you stated that we are the language. I know that words matter. People like Carlos Enriquez and others have talked about things in your toolkit to be able to refer to, understand. I'm going to say tempering, but settling yourself if you're in a situation, from finger tapping to, breathing and things like that. And so we have so far um, been agreement about the things that you're saying as far as the state of where we are. And, to thank you for kind of helping me coin the phrase either breadwinner or provider syndrome, because men in general deal with that. And then to be black men and then deal with system constraints and things like that, to which you've been very transparent about. Thank you for that. Um, I wanted to say if we could go into, you referred in the last comment, you referred that we are using the language. You referred to us reaching out. And though you are a high commodity, there's not that many of you. Can we talk a little bit about what we are doing well for ourselves, from processes you use to help men realize they actually are practicing some self-care, maintaining their mental wellness, and also just what you're seeing about efforts, because we don't always do well at presenting ourselves, either from not being transparent, or we have to put up if we are transparent, we're not authentically transparent because we're putting up this facade that everything is good, and really in the inside, we are dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what are the good things that we are doing that you help people realize? And then we'll talk about, sometimes when you have to prescribe, certain things, whether from psychopharm to ongoing therapy.
Yeah, yeah, and so much to chew on in that question.
I'm
Um,
kind of known for giving, what did Nia say? Or somebody said I give a preamble before I ask a question.
I love it though. I love it. I love it. And just for clarity's sake, on literally the last word you said. So in terms of, so I'm a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. So psychiatrist. A lot of people mix
Explain that,
those.
please. Can you
Yep,
break that
mix
down?
those up.
Yep.
So I got you. So psychologists, we're trained in assessment, uh, evaluation, and therapy, and we healthcare leaders. We can be organizational psychologists, where we're looking at the behavior of an organization. But psychology is the study of the mind and human behavior, essentially, or behavior. Psychiatrists prescribe medications on top of, a lot of psychiatrists are also therapists, but their training is they're a medical doctor. So we are either a PhD or a PsyD, so a doctor of psychology. So a little bit different there, but we work hand in hand. We have to know often I'm the one explaining medications further, and also monitoring um, progress and side effects and things like that, especially in an integrated model like Whittier, for instance. So that's the distinction there.
Yep.
But going to your question, have you ever actually, let's flip it back on you. Have you ever been at a point, um, I'll get to what we're doing well, but where, um, let's see, you are a lot of people are talking at once. You were, let's just, it could even be from school, and you were um, all of a sudden everybody's talking and you've been quiet the whole time, and then they're like, you know, James, what do you think? And then you're just like caught. Yeah, like have you ever been like caught in the I don't know, and then it just doesn't come out well,
I would
or
say the latter part of it doesn't come out well. I'm very rarely not with a thought about
there we
something.
go. Well, I'm
So
sure.
it doesn't come out well.
Well, that's well there. So or and some people freeze. So we have our fight, flight, and freeze responses, and we're at this, and there are others, but we're at this point. Um, we're at this point where yeah, we have access to some language that we haven't had, but I'm finding that a lot of black men are at this point where we're at that. What do you think? Finally people are asking us a question, and then it's just it's like it comes out, in different ways that may take some time for us to calculate, process in our minds to be able to verbalize. And then it can also be difficult for the person to receive it, or they can be impatient, or we can feel judged when we speak. So it is, we're at that being called on point. So being able to manage that stress that comes with it is a big part of what we need to do. But the fact that we're even speaking up and willing to take our space is uh, is a plus. Things that we've been doing for a long time. I know sports. I played football, and
Can I ask you, can I interject one thing before we go
sure.
on to what we've been doing based on that? And so, you talked about the fact that now, which is good, that we're being asked, what do you think? Two things there for me. I ran a men's group last year.
Dope.
And one of the things that came out of that, Kwame, was that as brothers are progressing in this space, and as much, and we'll name that we're talking in a heterosexual space,
Mhm.
their partners, while wanting them to be emotionally intelligent, when they tap into that, they sometimes have not been received when they've broken down, when they've cried, when they've, you know, admitted. When you say that to me, that cuts me on the inside.
Yeah.
Two, as worse as also fathers not being able to see their children because of a relationship dynamic. That is a huge mental health issue. And so I want to ask you, do you think that we're in this space now of and this is attributed to us as men often, are we in that space now because we have not traditionally been asked? And two, when we are, to your point, people aren't ready to receive, and they may not be ready for what's said. And then, and I'll go ahead and say it, I've experienced some brothers saying they've been almost emasculated by being transparent. And so, just on that thought there, before we go to the good,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts there on why we're here? And then, if you could give us, maybe we get into the tips and the good now to close us out all together,
Yeah.
some ways that they can deal with that, because in the moment, that can put some brothers in some, you say a name, oh, that's weak, and
Yep.
they're like, what? You know what I mean? So a
Yep.
lot there again, but I had to, because as brothers are on this journey,
Yep.
people have put roadblocks in it for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. It can be incredibly validating, to say the least. When you're finally called on to speak, and then dismissed or judged because of what you actually share. So it's kind of, I like in what you just said. What can we do to tolerate that? I mean, um, and I'm certainly not. You're asking the question. I'm certainly not saying that you do this, but it can be, and you're a black man. So, but it can be almost like victim blaming. It's like we were the ones who were invalidated. So to ask us how we can fix that is um, somewhat problematic in itself. Um,
Okay. Yep.
I'm not
Thank
saying that
you.
to you. No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no, 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 because this
Because
helps me. This
I could
helps me.
hear how it. I'm sorry.
It
Go ahead.
helps me in these conversations. Words matter, and this is why you're here, a clinician on Mental Health Monday. So no, I please.
Yeah. No. That. Yeah. And I was saying that to hopefully send a message to some of the people who receive, men, women, whomever receives Black men speaking their truth and speaking honestly. It's not to say you can't disagree. We're on this earth to do that, but to validate, to ensure, they'll make the extra effort to make eye contact, to nod, to actively listen, to be respectful of their voice, to give them an opportunity to get it out, so that you can so that you can receive, listen to, hear them, as opposed to react to them. I think that's something that we can do, and as men, that's something that um, we can do in return as well. I think we've been internalizing our pain for so long and our stress for so long that it can come out when we do. It can come out as like lashing out often, and sometimes that's verbal, sometimes it's physical. But we just get so frustrated, or some people, it's happened to me, but folks I know have gotten so frustrated that it's just, what do I do with that? And I'll, but some of the outlets that we do have and we've been using, so this,
Yep.
to loop it all in,
Yep.
um, you know, I started to talk about sports. That was my jam growing up, and uh, I played all the sports, but my main was football, and um, that was a huge outlet for me coming up. And I know a lot of brothers do things like that. Still, problem was, I went through a grieving process when football was no longer a thing, and I think I'm a lot of my buddies. I'm still friends with my core group of friends are guys I played Pop Warner with when I was 8 years old. But we've all gone through that process. But and sports is only one way. We often get pushed into sports and entertainment and other things like that. But finding your creative outlets, being able to write. I have a lot of my brothers who come in, they journal, they write lyrics, they produce music. They will dance. They'll go out and have a good time. They even at the barber shop, like best. It's kind of become cliche, those barbershop talks, but they're real. That's like when we are able to, um, congregate and fraternize with other men who are going through it, and then. But we do take advantage of those spaces, and we always have. We just don't call them. We haven't known to call them self care. Back when I had a little bit more up here, I would go get a haircut every week, but it wasn't just for um, the look. It was also for just the space, the community. Um, so we have been doing quite a bit of work on ourselves and to express ourselves in the ways that we can. Um, and there are also some things that we do that have been counterproductive. And you mentioned the finger tapping. I don't know if you could see it, but I'm
Hold on. So
twirling twirling one of these as we go. Mhm.
your vulnerability, and I'm going somewhere with this, and I think you know where I'm going. Your vulnerability, a lot of presumed diagnosis, and a lot of diagnosis with Black men around ADHD and things like that, and the fidget spinner.
Mhm.
For psychologists, I'm gonna say Kwame here, to sit here and be very real and transparent that you're doing that. Wow, because we talked about settling ourselves, tapping or things.
Mhm.
It just raises a regard for what you're giving us academically experience, but the vulnerability points that we've had here, I think, are a good thing because you're modeling to some extent what we need to be willing to do.
Mhm.
And so I saw you doing something. I didn't know whether it was a pen, and then for you to just, dude, man, I've gained a whole new level of respect for you. Hey, sir. Seriously, seriously, very seriously. But I want to go back to one thing, and then we can get ready to close out because I don't know if you have patience and we're a little bit
Mhm.
over time. Is thank you for um highlighting that words. I say it often, words matter and how we frame things. And so how do I, when I'm talking about a black man not being received. When I talk about how people respond to when a black man opens up, I guess I'm getting it in real time. That's how I say it. I don't put the blame on them. I will say that there are black men that have been in situations where the people they've opened up to have not properly received them.
Right.
Is that a better way to say it, to move away from that? And it's I don't think it's semantics. But I don't want it because we do inadvertent conditioned triggering
That's
without
right.
even knowing it.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
so when I'm stuttering, that means you don't I ain't no clinician, but I done been around enough. Yeah, it's Kwame, I'm sorry. Okay, so
It's all
I
good, bro.
it's it a lot of people have also said some clinicians have been on here. I don't know if you know Dr. Ron K. Pedersen from
Yes.
MGH.
Yep. Yep.
We've been on here, her and Carlos, and have allowed me to to have a breakthrough and process in real time.
That's great.
Eh, yeah, to some extent, but then after the show, I'm sitting there like, what the hell did I just go? But no, I really think more combos like these are needed, Dr. Dance, because I keep talking about, the brunt of what's going on in the world. It while we have these tools and we're doing better, the balance of doing better and then more weight on us, it fluctuates so often. And
Mm.
this heaviness happens a lot. And then here we got to come back up, in this cyclical thing. And so I think we need to continue, to have these conversations. But um we did talk about a few because I want brothers and others to are around them and have influence. Let's talk about some things that brothers can do prior to getting to a point of taking that step to talk with a professional. I heard sports. We've always known that to sort of be a physical sort of outlet. It adds physical conditioning and things like that, which is good for our mental health. I heard journaling
Mhm.
as well.
Journaling. Uh, there's a lot of real dope creators in the Boston area. So, um, writing, making music, getting out. I run a program, or used to run a program, but I'm involved with a program called the Hip Hop Transformation Program, where we teach young people how to express themselves through hip hop music and just music in general. So that's one. Um, Being able to just breathe. Um, I have a cousin who's in the field. He's also an actor, but Keith Maskell, and he
Yep,
and
I
his,
know Brother
yeah,
Keith. Triggered
Trigger Project. Yep,
Life. Yes.
yep,
Yep.
yep. So Keith, one of the things he used to always tell me is to. Oh, there goes the book. Sorry, I'll get that, Dr. Jackman. I'm sorry, but
Yo,
just
it never fails. This fell down 10 seconds before I watched you on screen. So
hilarious. It's all good. Well, um, but was just to breathe. That simple. It's just all it is, like, and it really does settle you. It calms you down, and we forget to do it. So he always used to tell me, "Don't forget to breathe." Um, let's in there's other things like praying or mindfulness we say mindfulness, and um, a lot of folks do. I mean, we're not a monolith as black men. A lot of black men are into meditation, yoga, things like that, but not all of us. And not all of us are playing pickup basketball every week. So there's something for everybody. Reading. I have a lot of brothers that um, I used to work in you know, uh, uh, forensic setting. So a lot of the brothers I worked with there passed the time by reading, and they're very well read, and you know that's a incredible outlet. Um, just having the opportunity just to be finding your spaces, even if you're just sitting in your car before you go in the house. I like long drives. I'll just go for a while or walking or what have you, and though it's just nice to be able to just be. And that would be the best advice. Just be who you are authentically, either by yourself or with others, but being able to just breathe and to just be is what we need to be able to do to face everything. And finding our space. Wouldn't it feel? One of my clients once told me, and I know we're wrapping up, but one of my
You could.
clients what once told me something that really stuck with me, and he was going through a um, he had just gone through a breakup, and he was trying to figure out what was next. And one thing super insightful, um, he was like, you know what I really want in my next partner, someone who just lets allows me to fail and is okay with that. um, I think that's so beautiful and profound. Like it's courageous too to to be okay failing, to be okay with those parts of you that aren't great, that aren't okay, and to have people around you that allow you that space to do that, or to be able to give that space to yourself. Um, I think that's critical.
That is definitely a journey that I am on. I won't say I'm completing it, but that thing of um, accepting when I fail, and also noticing that if it's multiple failures, I got to do some shadow work
Gotta- Yeah,
and some, background work, and then the parts that I can control and change, I am working on it. And I told somebody the other day, I said, listen, there's parts of me that it just is what it is. I'm particular. I get in event mode and all that, but being cognizant of it, it's not an excuse to be rude and all of that other stuff. But when you're aware, they used to say knowing is half the battle. Now, when you know it, you can at least know your triggers. And I guess this is also
awareness.
can be applied generally. Know your triggers, and then having ways either through the spinner or
Mm.
through breathing or just back for a minute, or to just, and you may appreciate this from a harm reduction standpoint. Yo, if I crash out, I might get locked. I mean, come on, come on. If we're,
That's real. That's
let, let,
real. Knowing
let's
the
have
consequences is very, and being aware of those
a wonderful way to frame it,
is
considering the consequences. I just
considering
took
the
a harm
consequences.
reduction hood vernacular.
And
It's the worst. You know what I mean? That's real for us.
and man, there's just because there's a lot of folks listening, I won't get into hard triggers, but even when I'm talking to people about self-harm, or worse, dying by suicide, etc., um, or contemplating that, one approach is not to necessarily invalidate that feeling by taking it off the table. You cannot do this. It's what else can you do
Well,
that will
hold
give
on,
you
hold
the
on. Let's
same feeling.
because you
Can
said
you
I
unpack that?
heard what you're saying. Yeah, let's because that's a major. Let's unpack that for real.
For real. Yeah. So if somebody is contemplating hurting themselves, or if they have hurt themselves, or if they're prone to that, that is a real. Oh, did I lose you?
No,
Still
you're
there?
good.
Okay,
No,
cool.
you're good.
That got
I
you,
wanted you
got
full
you.
screen for
That
this.
got you. That is a very real feeling, and a real, this person has reached a point of hopelessness that is so grave that they think their only way to cope with that is to do something to themselves. And um, in the spirit of vulnerability, I've definitely had been in that space and had those moments before, particularly when dealing with some grief and loss. But um, to be able to add tools, because that person feels like they've run out of tools in their toolkit, if you will, to be able to add skills and be able to add, yes, that is an option, and there are extraordinary consequences, not just for you but the people around you. And you know it's not something to feel bad about. Being hopeless is, that's a very natural feeling that we've all had in some way, or helpless. So what else can we do to cope with that feeling? So adding tools, and then going through those, and see, these consequences aren't quite as extreme, but let's try these first. So when we talk about harm reduction, sometimes it's just that. And if, sometimes harm reduction is going out and, rolling up and smoking a smoking a blunt. It's better than hurting yourself. So sometimes it's, do I go out and, go to the club and let loose? It's better than hurting yourself. But, we gotta.
Or in cases where, kind of a straw that broke the camel's back situation where you hurt not just yourself, but someone
Got it.
else. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I wanted to unpack that because we
Mhm.
can, again, through conditioning and even sometimes out of a good place of concern, we can invalidate those very real feelings from a place of wanting to help. And you're
Yeah.
not, you got to at least at first say,
Got it.
what you're feeling right now is real for you.
As well.
And Kwame, I have to pause and say for anyone, because we're talking about a lot of things right now, and a lot of people do suffer in silence and may not even comment. But I just wanted to mention that if you are dealing with anything that we've talked about today, there is a readily available resource to you where you can call 988
Mhm.
and they can talk to it is a suicide prevention hotline, but I have verified through people that they will just listen if you need to talk, whether feeling like that or just at a point where you think you might feel like that. So, Dr. Dance, I had to share that
Like that.
resource there,
Absolutely.
and that is very real for us because the numbers of Black men who are dying by suicide are increasing. And so I just wanted to name that. If there's another resource you're putting in there right now, please feel
Mhm.
free to do so. I will have to ask this, Dr. Dance, because I know somewhere in the comments, or I'm going to get a text or inbox later. Are you accepting patients either at Whittier and or do you private practice?
Yeah. So I encourage folks to reach out to me. You could even just DM me if you're on any kind of social media at Dr. Kwame, Kwame dance, like you would dance at a party. Dr. Kwame dance. And I can absolutely provide referrals, also InnoPsych. I do
Yes.
work out of a group practice called the Hazel Approach, Black-owned group practice. So you can check out hazelapproach.com. And I am accepting patients, although I know insurance can be a barrier in some spaces. At Whittier, you're welcome to call the behavioral health. Um, Actually, here's a good one. I've done this in the past, but I've had men's groups. So if I have enough brothers who are interested in participating in a group, I'd be happy to consider start one of those back up at Whittier, especially since I have a expert who I'm talking to right now. I would love to have you in on that, but
Yeah.
we'll we'll, we'll
You
talk
know,
about it. We'll talk about how that could look, but feel free to reach out and we'll find you support. Also, um, you know, Psychology Today is a directory. We like to go to Dr. Jackman's first, but if you don't find
yep.
anyone on there, then you can check out Psychology Today. There are a number of places where you can at least start the process. And even though there's only a few black men in this work and black folks in this work, you know, sometimes finding a white clinician, some of the best psychologists that I know who I've learned a lot from have been white clinicians who are willing to listen and support. And if you're in trouble, then take
Take the help.
whoever's willing to listen. Let's take the help. Let's not be afraid of that.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Kwame, I
Mm-hmm.
was I respect the doctor dancing you, Kwame. Thank you so much for today. I know a lot of people that were watching. There are a lot of comments, new names and stuff I see here that we haven't seen before. So shout out to all of those that came in today to support Kwame, Dr. Dance. But this is much needed, and I know a lot of folks are going to go back and are watching after the live hour. But there were so many nuggets here today And I was glad that we're not leaving with this impression of doom and gloom for
Nah,
us.
nah.
The realities are real. We validate them, and that we validate them. We know that we have to make decisions, consider all the consequences, and the more tools you have, you're better able to evaluate the consequences and then make the right decision.
Yeah. And that awareness piece is key that you added to that. So thank you. Future doctor, it's possible. I'll see that in your future if you want it. But
I'm
so and congratulations before we wrap up on 6
Yes, sir.
years. That's
Thank you.
incredible. That's
I
awesome.
appreciate it. I appreciate
No,
it, man. It's I'm doing good this year because usually I'm a blubbering mess. I'm reflective. I'm sensitive. I'm proud of myself this year. I
that's what's
haven't
up.
broke down once on camera. Now tomorrow might be a different story.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
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 all
it's
good. Hey, allow yourself that space. It is
yes, sir.
okay. We here for you. All right.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, and that is definitely a energizer when this space gets a little overwhelming. So I appreciate you, man. This was amazing. This exceeded what I knew it was going to be good, but this was good. This was good.
Bless, bless. Yes, it
So
was. Thank you.
we'll be reaching back out.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you,
All
man.
right.
And I'm not going to acknowledge the little other thing up on your shelf
Oh,
there.
you're not gonna acknowledge that?
Yeah, because mine's would be what? Mine's would be look at the colors here.
I,
If I had
you,
pledged,
you know,
I'm not going to get in
see,
trouble.
not we can't all be perfect. It's okay.
Oh,
We're accepting of everybody and their flaws and all of that. We're not. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to Cap Alpha Psi. Shout out to Omega Psi Phi, Phi Beta Sig, Iota Phi
all
Sig.
the divine nine,
Shout out to everybody. But
even the Christian ones.
oh, 100%, all of them. We
I'm
ain't gonna
getting
get
you off
into
of
that.
here. I know I'm getting you off of here before we get in trouble. Kwame, thank you, man. I appreciate you, King.
All right,
Have a good day,
bless
brother.
you too, bro.
I hope today you all got something out of today's Mental Health Monday. As I said, there is a lot of intentionality around Mental Health Monday and also our Your Healthy Java segment. So please, when you hear that we have actual clinicians coming into the space, I try to hold it down as much as I can, but I am not a clinician. I don't care what Dr. Kwame said about getting in the game as a trainee at 54 years old. The most that I would do is a LMH. No, licensed mental health, LMH, licensed mental health supporter, something at the very most. So hopefully you got something out of today. A few things for you. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Jesus. We will be here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. No big grandiose plans. I did not send out the pop-up link. We're just going to just reflect. I may share some old videos, chat with you all about favorite episodes and things like that, but nothing real big and major on the actual day we started 6 years ago tomorrow. Later this year, we will turn up, we will celebrate as a audience and group. Now, over the next couple of days, I don't know if Miss T's on and others, I'm going to be chilling. All good, but one thing about this year, I do know that I'm a little more reflective around the impact we had this year in different spaces that I'm going to continue to attempt to be intentional about using this platform to have greater impact. And so that is I just need some solo downtime where I'm not dealing with anybody. So that's going to happen over the next couple of weeks or so. So don't be alarmed. Okay. All right. That is it. Speaking of Your Healthy Java, dates to keep in mind: May 16th, 2026, we will have our 5th annual Joseph R. Betancourt Health Fair. Registration opens next Friday, April 3rd at 12 o'clock. Pre-registration opens next Friday. You pre-register and you come and check in. You are automatically entered into a raffle for $100. All right. And then we're giving out 5 $1,000 cash prizes. We did it last year. I don't know if we did it the year before. But we did it last year, gave that woman $100. So we're going to give out 50 $100 bills for you to come. And if the priority is for you to get the information. But if you get a little encouragement because we're giving out raffle prizes, I don't care. Not care. As long as you out there with medical information and have had you ain't just going to, for the $1,000, you have to get your passport filled out. You have to go and converse with the medical providers of your choice. You don't got to go to every table, but you're going to have to go to some tables and engage in some conversation to be eligible to win the $1,000. And there'll be other raffle prizes there, door prizes. One year, people came early. I had a few extra $10 Target cards. I just walked through the line and gave people gift cards. You don't know what's going to happen. If you would like to also sponsor the health fair, let me know. This is a time of year where I go hard to raise funds to put that money right back. It supports the platform. My sponsors know they support that day and the ongoing work of the platform and a little bit of self-care as well. I'm very transparent about that because I just feel the need to be that some support. Often we're going to solicit and put the Cash App and all that up tomorrow. I have a link on social media right now about supporting the platform. Part of that supporting the platform does once in a while include a couple of oysters and an espresso martini. Just transparent about that. You need to know where your support is going. So I'm afraid to go to the comments. Also 1104. So Union Capital, y'all are good. I can jump right off. Let's go to the comments. I'm not going to go through all of them, but so glad that Belinda, I'm not messing with you. I'm not even putting that comment on the screen. All right, folks. Coach La just jumped on Instagram. We having all this wonderful therapy today. I need to get her on the daytime. We had her on the daytime show. But her thing was that her internet was acting up. We need to get her on uninterrupted and chat with Coach Law on one of these Mental Health Mondays. So good to see you in the room. Coach Law, we had Dr. Kwame Dance on talking about Black men's mental health and cis. He slayed us. All right. Thank you all. I'm going to get ready to wrap up. We'll be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We'll probably be here for a couple of hours. All right. All right. Now I'm starting to feel the emotion of it. It just, my chest just said, we'll be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Is it next Thursday? Yeah. Can you believe next Thursday we'll be back at GBH, April 2nd. The mayor will not be with us on April 1st. I'm working on, who was I thinking about on April 1st? I'll let you all know. I think we're going to have a one of the energy companies with us on April 1st. So I'll keep you all abreast about that for next week. That's it for me and dates. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Later, Milagro and everyone else. And tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. See you later, everybody. Peace.